This is the Balanced Advisor Podcast with Dr. Travis Perry, helping financial advisors like you achieve balance in their lives.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Balanced Advisor Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Perry. Today, we get the privilege of chatting with Mr. Matthew Blocki. Matthew is a phenomenal guy. He started his career in 2009 as a college intern and then left his broker-dealer in June of 2020 to start his RIA after 10 years of growing a balanced practice. His team of 8 serve affluent clients all across the country with a focus of physicians, retirees, executives, and business owners. Welcome, Matthew, to the program.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to chatting in the pre-show about a lot of great things. We have some good connections, sharing some broker-dealer stories. But Matthew, I could let you tell the story of how you got here. How'd you get to this point? Why'd you start in the industry? And, tell us a little bit about your evolution.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I definitely appreciate you having me on. So I got started in 2009 when I was a junior at Geneva College, just a small liberal arts school in Western Pennsylvania. And I think my investments professor had made an introduction, and I didn't know that the internship was going to be selling life insurance, but I signed up for it, got the job offer, and it was a top 10 internship in the country. So I figured it was a good resume builder, and had to call all my personal network, which was very uncomfortable. So with the bad experiences that came along with, people saying, hey, you need to get a real job when you graduate, I took a job I was a double major in accounting and finance. I took a job at a big public, one of the big 4 accounting firms. And after 10 months decided that wasn't the route I wanted to go. And so went back into interviewing with some of the big wirehouses, and then figured out my network. I didn't have the network really to get the size of accounts that those wirehouses wanted. So I found myself right back at the broker dealer that intern in, because, I could do the insurance, which was already licensed to do. And then also they promised me I could start to build a wealth management financial planning practice. And that's what I did. In the end of 2011 is when I transitioned away from public accounting back into the financial advising world. Nice.
And where are you at now? Because where you're at now is a little bit different than what you kind of transitioned back into, right? Tell us a little bit about that process.
Yeah. So, had 10 great years with my prior broker dealer. Learned a lot about work ethic and activity, and, eventually, started to build a niche, and found that for me to really do the best job, for my clients and to meet all their needs, I needed to have certain autonomy and flexibility, not just to sell products, but to be able to provide advice on, restricted stock for executives, or, analyzing, vacation homes for retirees, or helping physicians analyze and negotiate their contracts. So there's just a lot of things that the prior broker dealer didn't want to scale from a compliance perspective that, I was able to do in the private sector of an RIA. So that's where we found ourselves in June of 2020. We transitioned away and started our own RIA for the sake of, just trying to provide as balanced of a practice as possible to serve our clientele.
Oh, I like that. So really, this is where we really have a lot of overlap. You want a balanced practice. We help people with balance. This is a really great topic to discuss. And we're going to get into the weeds on this a little bit later. We'll circle back to this. But let's talk about balance. What is your definition of balance? And maybe in addition to that, why has that influenced how you do business?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think there's a lot of what I guess would refer to as paradoxes in life. Like the best savers are the worst spenders, right? So it's like, how do you balance living today and then also securing the future? And just one example, we have some very successful clients, but some of our clients, let's just say in the $10 to $20 million net worth range, they get to retirement, and these individuals have literally been the most disciplined individuals, work their tails off throughout their career, put their heads down, and then basically stated, okay, once we get there, we're going to start living our best life. We're going to start vacationing and spending money. And what we found actually happens is that, when you're 65, your intellectual capacity or intellectual capital is at an all-time high. If you're a physician or a business owner, you're probably, most people on default, like 80 to 90% of their identity is their career, is their business. And to suddenly, everything that you put on hold sounds great to start doing retirement, but we found most people, it's impossible to, from a financial perspective, just break the habit of saving, let alone start to spend the money they've accumulated. That's a very psychological thing that we have to coach people through. And then secondly, most people that go 100 miles an hour from a career to 0 miles an hour in retirement without a plan in place of how they're going to spend their time, what they're going to do, how they're going to live out their values, because those values may have been very present in their career and family, but then their kids are growing up and they find themselves, without their career. We see a lot of struggles. That's really given me perspective of stating, basically this isn't a, a sprint and suddenly once I achieve this milestone, everything's going to be okay. It's really given me the perspective that everything should focus on the journey. Living your values out on a daily basis, making sure you're showing up on a daily basis, and then also balancing the, enjoying the time today, presently, but also securing the future. Because if that's out of balance and you're enjoying so much, eventually you're going to stress out and say, you know what, my future is not on track. So I call this the art of planning. And I think everyone has to go through this on an individual basis and then through every area of their life.
Yeah, so good. Balance has a lot of different definitions. Obviously, you wrote the book, Achieving Balance, for advisors about their life. Like they put all this identity into their career, right? And that's a big part of it. So what is it for you? Because I love what you're doing. You absolutely have a fantastic niche there on the psychological aspects of going from, saving to spending 100 miles an hour towards career and then boom, retired, right? And helping them, manage this in a balanced approach. So that in mind, like, what do you say for you personally? If you were just to unload your soul here without unpacking too much, but what are the issues you struggle with? Because I think this is very telling and very helpful for advisors out there going, oh man, yeah, I totally struggle with that too. And I love this part of the podcast because it really just gives us a glimpse into, yeah, you're human, you're helping other advisors or other clients, but for you as an advisor, where do you struggle?
Yeah, I think the struggle for me is always keeping the purpose first. So I've always, I tell my team, competition is great. I think the industry that we're in, everyone's very competitive. The prior broker dealer that I was with, everything was publicized. Everyone was competing with each other. And I think that's why they're a Fortune 100 company, is everyone, wants, everyone loves competing. Everyone loves recognition, affirmation, et cetera. But I think in reality, that's like pouring gasoline on a fire. It's going to go up really quick, but it's going to come down really quick. So I think the biggest thing to keep front of mind that I tell my team is purpose first. And if the competition is fulfilling the purpose, great. If not, let's not get off track. Let's stay on the same road that we need to. So it's just, constantly evaluating and pursuing how can we do the best job for our clients? How can we live the most fulfilling lives by doing that? And making sure that we stay focused in all of our actions and intentions.
Yeah, you said a lot of key words: purpose first, living your intentions. What would you say, knowing what your purpose is that the biggest struggle, or is it actually putting that into action and staying proactive with that?
Yeah, no, I think it's, our purpose, I would define our purpose is when we do a good job for a client and offload. I kind of use the analogy like our clients are the CEO of their lives, and it's our job. We call it the 3 C's. Like, we're a catalyst. We have tough conversations to make sure that, someone's not on default over accumulating for the sake of nothingness, just, living a balanced life, having the tough conversations, getting everything done, providing concierge service would be the second one. And the third one I want to talk about is the CFO. So every client's a CEO. We're the CFO. So, we're here to save them time and to offload their entire financial life and get as much time on their plates as possible. That's the only non-renewable resource we all have. So when we do that effectively for a physician, for an executive, those people are impacting so many patients' lives, so many people's lives. And if we've done that one part of their life, they can become a better family member, a better member of society, and a better father or mother. And that's really what our purpose is. We have to show up every day and make sure that we're inside the lines and we're doing our best work, because that's just going to carry forward in so many aspects in the community and family. So that the purpose is very clear. It's a million distractions. It's, podcast, you turn on, you wake up and there's 100 decisions you have to make. So it's just removing decision fatigue and making sure your actions are in line with the purpose.
What do you do with those distractions? You start to identify them and you kind of cut that out, like podcasts, the news. I know what they are for advisors, like the biggest ones: email, social media, investment research, or what Nick Murray calls advisor porn. Yep. So these things really can be distractions. They can become addictions, right? We know that they're addictive. Your understanding of the psychological aspects of your own clients, but for you, like, what have you done, or where do you still struggle with? What distractions keep you from keeping that purpose?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. It's a struggle, every day with information. And I think some of the key things, very simple, I use if it's a client, an email is extremely important. You have to, treat it with 24 to 48 hour turnaround. If it's not a client, one, I have the mindset, that's someone else's agenda for your time. So just realizing that right from the get-go. 3Ds, either do it, delete it, delegate it, right away. Zero inbox. I live by that, on not a daily basis, but weekly basis for sure. And so just having those, not answering any phone call if you don't recognize it. Usually if you don't recognize it, it's someone trying to distract or tell you something, typically. So all these little tips and tactics of, putting email on offline mode, putting your phone on airplane mode, and just really getting in the flow state, getting focused. And it's, it's a struggle every day, but I think there's a million things you can do to block stuff out, but that's not going to solve that can help. But ultimately you have to have the proactive, where are you going? What are you trying to build? And have the psychology behind that. Because if you just have all the methods to block, but there's no reason to block, eventually the energy is just going to dissipate in no time. But if you have those kind of like the purpose first, competition, supporting the purpose, the same thing, like having the systems and tools to eliminate distractions has to be for the greater good of building what you're trying to build or building into that purpose. So I think for me personally, it's reviewing, the firm vision of what we're doing for our clients. We do that every Tuesday morning as a team. That typically just not only gets people fired up, it creates the right seeds in the brain. And then secondly, my personal goals and personal vision get reviewed at least once a week as well. So just building what's the right word? I hear it all the time now. Neuroplasticity. I think that's the buzzword now.
Yeah, no, it is. And you're exactly right. And I'll tell you, there's some great research out there showing that when you're stressed or when you're going through hard times, instead of really focusing on, gee, I'm stressed, embracing that stress, but for the right reason. You mentioned this, like methods are great, but you need to connect that to your reasons and purpose. And, I'm paraphrasing you, but the research is showing that when you connect to your vision, your purpose, your values are the key thing here, like purpose, vision, all connects with values. If you can connect with what you're going through, with that, you're much more likely to use stress for good. You're also much more likely to be successful. So we want both of those outcomes. So I love that you review the firm vision every week. I love, or once a month, you said, right? And then
once a week. Yeah.
Once a week. And then also your personal goals once a week. That's fantastic. Like doing both of those things help hey, this is who I am at work. This is what we do. And here's the bigger purpose at home. Now, we didn't even go into the personal life, but I don't even know. Are you married? Do you have kids? Like, what's your familiar situation?
Yeah, I've got one daughter. She's 3.5, and 2 golden retrievers. So there's it's a huge shift when I'm with her, and she requires, in the best way possible, all the attention in the world. It has made me just focus, 8 to 5. And when I'm with her, and that's been, an amazing, that's my personal purpose, playing out. And, previously I, self-proclaimed workaholic, and something I'm trying to balance on a weekly basis is, raising her and, making sure the business's needs are all met. It's exciting, and it makes me jump out of bed every morning, and I don't hit snooze. I have some tactics on that as well. But I think the biggest test, if you have the right personal vision or the right business vision, is, are you hitting snooze, or are you jumping out of bed with energy? I think that's the biggest litmus test to think if you're really aligned with your personal or business vision.
Yeah, that's a great litmus test. 100%. I love what you said there, though, about like your personal vision is to be present. This, like you talked about distractions. There's a struggle every day. Like if we don't have this thing turned off, our cell phones, our computers, and everything that's blazing at us, our screens, right? That if we're not present, especially with our children, family members, or spouses, they feel it, don't they?
No question.
Does your daughter ever call you out on it? And she's like, "Hey, Dad, come on." I mean, have you had those times?
There's been times she'll join me while I'm on the laptop, and then she'll say, like, let's go play with her Pop. She's got this like Paw Patrol tower that that's her thing right now. So no, she definitely calls me out. She already is the best salesman I've ever met. I mean, she gets her, her gummy snacks or whatever she wants. I'm a softie at heart. So.
Yeah, I could tell. This is good. But I think that's your reason, right? I found with most advisors, their reason for being balanced is their family. And their most important people in life are the ones that help them keep them accountable. So this is no surprise. And I love that you bring this up here with your sweet daughter. You've been in the industry. You've been in a CPA role, which I didn't know until we got to hear your story. You've been at a big BD, you tried in the wirehouse world. Now you have your own business, your RIA, you're creating your own culture. But what have you seen or continue to see right now in the industry as maybe some of the biggest issues that advisors have with trying to achieve balance?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of our firm values is Jocko. We've stole that from the Jocko Willink's book, Extreme Ownership. And so I think what the big thing we're seeing right now is there's all this awesome technology that is helping people scale and helping people save time. I think the biggest issue I see with advisors is that no one's really taking a quarterback role correctly. And what I mean by that is, I'll just give you an example. Like last week, we were with a client that needs a will and a trust executed. And it's been sitting out there for 4 years. So now since then, the Secure Act has passed. I have to reconfigure some trust for IRAs. And then there's special needs trust. So it just, a lot gets said in meetings, but very few things get followed through on. So I think the biggest issue that I see with advisors is having the team and capacity, resource, and energy to really balance the line of being professionally persistent versus pushy, and also having the energy and the setup to do that, even in most of the time in instances where you're not getting compensated. So we're a fee only wrap fee. So no, we charge off of AUM only, and we wrap all of our services. And then our big thing is, we don't have contracts. So we need to provide value every single day. And so if a will needs done, we're getting on the phone with the attorney and helping coordinate the financial picture. But I would say the biggest thing I've seen is a lot, you look through the notes of a meeting a year ago, and then you look at what's happened since, and it's like 20% of it's done. Well, that's unacceptable. We want 100% of it done, but it's how do you keep all these professionals, the communication streamline, the follow through, who's doing what, who's responsible for what, and where does the client fit in that. Figuring that out, I think you're going to be light years ahead in the top 1%, and clients can feel that and they'll replicate themselves for you. That's the biggest thing we found is taking that extreme ownership and coordinating all the egos, the individuals, the professionals, everything that fits in, just keeping the client at the center and making sure stuff gets done.
Yeah. So really part of your design to be independent, to be an RIA, is to be able to charge a wrap fee so you can do everything. You can be comprehensive, and have this balanced approach. And yet at the same time, it's also because you want to take this quarterback role and really make sure that things get accomplished. Not just say, yeah, we do comprehensive planning, but we're managing funds. And that's
for
it,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
Because I think that it's really hard for the public to wrap their minds around about, wait, what is a financial advisor versus planner versus what are these C's of designations and alphabet soup behind the name even mean, right? Most don't really know. And quite honestly, advisors struggle to keep up with the thousands of designations that are out there. So I love that you're calling this out. I was like, hey, we need to be in this quarterback role. What would you say to other advisors out there to say, hey, if you're thinking about transitioning, or, if you are at a BD and you want to be heading more towards the quarterback role, what's helped you? Because you've been in both zones here. What's helped you to, really create this quarterback role so that you can have a more balanced practice?
I think looking back, the best advice I ever got was, go spend half a day on Friday with a yellow pad and a pen, turn your phone off, go to a coffee shop and just start thinking about the business, work on the business, think about what your philosophy is. Because I found I was probably 5 years into my career, I started doing that. And I found that probably half of what I was doing wasn't actually my goal. It wasn't my vision. It was a vision created for me because of the cult or the culture, that I was in. And so I think that's the key, because if you're doing something that's not you or not your goal, the motivation is going to expire quickly, or it's going to be like the gasoline. You have to keep pouring unhealthy motivation in. That's eventually going to run out. So I think the first thing I would recommend is figure out what your goals, your vision are, what you want to do for clients are, and make sure that's actually yours. And then secondly is you have to build the capacity in the team, or be realistic. If the BD is, asking you to get on 100 new clients a year and you want to have a balanced life, you maybe do 100 transactions a year. You're not going to be 100 clients a year giving tax advice during tax season, rebalancing, doing Roth conversions when the market goes down, doing backdoor Roth, setting up the 401k for their 1099 income. It's impossible. So you either have to have an amazing team or be extremely selective. And having those realizations, doing an 80-20 analysis without that think time, I think it's really easy to, wake up a year or 2 years from now, you're competing against everyone around you and trying to impress people you don't even like. So I think just being really intentional about creating your own vision and what exactly clients are looking for you, and creating those amazing bonds and relationships with helping people is the absolute key. And then everything else kind of falls into place from there.
Great advice. I'm going to piggyback on this and ask you a follow-up question. When it comes to scaling, as we talked a little bit about this in the pre-show about what you're doing, your company's growing super fast. You guys have made some incredible progress this last year or so, and you're on a great trajectory to get to where your goals are. What do you think is one or two or three things that you would tell other advisors who are struggling with scaling? Because I know a lot of guys that I talk to and gals in the industry struggle to scale, thinking, "Oh, I'm going to lose my balance," right? Or I can't delegate, or whatever fill in the blank fear that they have. What would you say to those advisors listening in who are they're balance focused and they want to scale, but they're struggling with making that next step?
Yeah, I think everything goes back to kind of the psychology. I think as an advisor, there's a great feeling to be needed, are wanted by clients for them to reach out. You provide a solution, and then they're thankful. So, at first the struggle was realizing that it doesn't need to be you, right? Once you learn and master certain things, you're really going to be do that efficiently for maybe 100 to 200 people, 200 clients. And so if you want to reach 1,000 clients, you're going to have to really pour yourselves into other advisors. And so just that realization at first, because at first it was hire someone and then they're in the meeting, but do you love talking so much that now you're doing all the talking, you're training the clients to stick with you, then you're doing the follow-ups, and why is that person even there? And that's kind of the culture I was in before, is they taught you to be the person or the man, or and so it just, part of it is going through a season and realizing seasons change, and that part of your identity has to go, that ego has to go. If you're really here to serve your clients, you need to take a back seat. So, because clients really follow your lead, and if you're interrupting or not letting the other advisor talk or be empowered, the client can feel that, and they're not going to trust that person be their first contact. So I think there's definitely a psychological death and birth that has to occur of what your role is as you scale, and be really intentional about that, and sit with your advisors, train them every day, every week, and empower them and let them make mistakes. So when I was at my prior broker dealer, we tried that and it failed many, many times. And we knew it failed because clients were like, we want to work with you. And it made me feel good. And I was realizing, well, we're never going to be able to grow. And so when we transitioned to the RIA, we were really intentional with that. We had, a great coach, and within 12 months, two of the advisors that had been with me, for, one was brand new and one had been with me for 5 years. We had over 100 clients transition to them as smoothly as possible. And there's, maybe 1 out of 100 had an issue with it, and then we addressed it. Now they're good. So figuring that out and putting, not just saying, hey, here's your new advisor, it's just having a whole process behind that, sitting with them, first meeting, you do some of the talking, they do all the follow-ups, just having a very intentional written up process that matches the actions, and then also with the psychology and having the art of it, I think is really the only way to properly scale, is empowering others.
Well, there's a whole other podcast section right there we could go into, but you're exactly right. In order to scale, like ego, I found this to be a huge issue. I don't work with anyone trying to help them scale if ego is an issue, because they're not able to delegate. If you can't delegate out and you can't, hire someone else and train them, and that's something I've seen, like you've mentioned over and over again, is training your advisors, having these training meetings, discussing with them, and really, letting go. There's a huge psychology behind that of letting go. So maybe we'll end with this last piece of advice, Matt. Like what's your advice on letting go? What's one thing that, like, if you can think of or tell advisors, like, this is it, this has really helped me to let go, to delegate, so that you can scale?
Ooh, that's a great one. And I wish I could say a light switch just turned on suddenly. I mean, it was a battle back and forth, letting go, not letting go. And finally we're here, and there's still struggles that occur, but it goes back to that purpose and that vision. And, our vision is to be at $1 billion under management in 5 years. And for me to do that alone would be literally impossible. I would lose all my balance. I wouldn't have to see my daughter. So the scaling and letting go is legitimately the number one thing I have to remind myself on a daily basis. And not just letting go, but just pouring myself into team members and making sure everyone's rowing in the same direction, on the same boat. Everyone has the same philosophy, and just helping troubleshoot and problem solve behind the scenes. So as they get the credit and clients build trust in them and they gain confidence, that's all extremely important, necessary stuff, is just to let go of all credit and empower others, I think, is the magic sauce for scaling properly.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your input on the Balanced Advisor podcast for this episode. It's been enlightening to hear your journey and what you struggled with, what you're dealing with, and how you've been able to build such a fantastic company. My hat's off to you, Matt, and what you're doing out there, and for helping your clients really to have a more balanced life like this. That's what this show is really all about. And my professional purpose and vision is to help financial advisors find that and scale their businesses. If they want to reach out to you, obviously they can go to ewa/llc.com, right? That's your website. But if they want to reach out to you personally or pick your brain, take you to virtual lunch, whatever it is these days, or even maybe join your team, what's the best route?
Yeah, just email Matt Blocki at ewa-llc.com. Would be the best. And then we do a lot of social educational videos, and we're actually turning that into a new business that we started for ourselves. We're calling it Wealth Advisor Training LLC. So basically when a new advisor comes in, here's like a video library to get scaled with our philosophies. And so we're going to be opening that to the public here in a couple of months as well, which we're excited about.
Super excited. That's cool.
So
that's awesome. Well, thanks for announcing that here. You guys, you heard it here. Stay focused and check out Matt's stuff. Connect with him on LinkedIn or wherever social platform you're on to follow those videos and the training. And thanks again, Matt, for being on the show. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. My pleasure.